Hello, community. What's going on? Probably you are thinking, why Gerardo is speaking English if we are transmitting or streaming in Cloud Native Costa Rica? The reason is because we are very close to start the KCD second edition in Costa Rica. And today we have two special guests, well, three special guests, because we have my colleague, Vladimir.
Hey, hello. I am Vlad. I'm so happy to be here with such amazing people today and preparing to the KCD tomorrow, which will be pretty exciting. So we are going to introduce our guest. Today we have Viktor Farcic, who has spent years shaping the DevOps and Cloud Native community. He is a passionate open source contributor, speaker, and author who has a wealth knowledge on automation, Kubernetes, and much more.
Wow.
He's been helping individuals and companies embrace cloud native technologies. And then we have Whitney. She is a true advocate for inclusivity and growth in the cloud native space. Whitney has been a strong voice in helping others, especially those just starting in tech, find their way and feel welcome. She believes in the power of being new and how that can be a great advantage. So let's welcome our guest.
So good claps.
Can you repeat it again? This was so cool. Nobody ever said so nice words about me.
I will say-
Really? I did all that?
Do you like it, guys? Do you like it? Probably you're thinking, I am I right now. Yeah, so good.
That's me.
Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for visiting us. For us, it's a pleasure. First, I think so it's the first time in Central America, right? In Costa Rica.
First time, yeah.
First time.
What do you think about the experience right now in Costa Rica?
Pura vida.
Pura vida.
Pura
That's it.
vida.
Right now, they are Costa Rica citizens. They right now, please sign the citizen or the passport, because that's it. Pura vida.
There you go. I mean, whatever you ask me today, the answer is pura vida.
Pura vida.
I understood. Kind of like, this will be a very fast interview.
Thank you so much for visiting us again. And for all the people that probably is watching their post to the KCD, we will have three keynotes. And right now we have two of three keynotes. Angel Ramirez will be our first keynote, Whitney and Victor. So again, this activity will be amazing. Sorry if you don't get the ticket. Please, in the next one, take care and move fast in order to get the ticket. So the idea with this podcast, guys, is probably trying to explain to the new people how students, how people that is beginning the community can be involved. Because regularly, I don't know, I received some students that they told me, Gerardo, I want to go to the community, but I think so my knowledge is not enough because they are senior or probably the people has more experience, and my knowledge is hello world and that's it. But what do you think, guys, about how the people can be involved more in the community?
I would say that CNCF community is probably one of the most welcoming. It's very welcoming community, right? The only thing you really need to do is ignore for this moment that you're shy or something like that. Go to Slack and pick a project that you like, whichever, and say, hey, how can I help? That's all there is to it, right? And doesn't matter the level. Everybody needs extra hands, right? So if you can help with code, great. If you can help with documentation, great. If you can help by answering questions, great. Whatever comes to your mind is fine. It's good. There is always room for every level, anybody.
Yeah.
One thing that's overwhelming as a beginner, well, there's a lot of things, but one of the things is like there are hundreds of projects. So how do you know which one to go to say, hello world, do you need my help? And there's a website called Clotributor.
Oh, nice.
CLOTRIBUTOR. And that's where projects can put good first issues, or if they want help from the community on particular things that they're working on, they could post it there. So if you see something there that you want to help with, you know that project is asking for help. And so you'll be more, you're going to be welcome and appreciated anywhere, but they especially need you to go where you're wanted.
Sounds good. Guys, can you share a story from your early days in tech? Maybe you remember. I know that you are younger guys, I know, but in your early days in tech, when you embrace being a new, because always in one moment in our story, we have new, right? So what do you think? How this help you to grow, giving the first step in order to say, okay, I am a new guy, but how I can give my first step in order to be included into the community? What do you think?
Well, I've been in the cloud native community for like maybe 5 or 6 years
Okay.
now. And I remember my transition a lot in 2020. And when I was first starting to hang around distributed computing, I was fresh out of coding school.
Mhm.
I'd just gone to a full stack web dev. So I wasn't even familiar with DevOps period, really. And I didn't know really easy, simple things like when someone says a server, they mean a box, they mean a VM, they mean a node. Like it can all be the same thing. It's just, and so getting started I was really scared and really afraid that someone would figure out that I'm an imposter at any moment. Sense. To get through that, I did a couple of things. One is I did a good amount of studying, and when I did figure out acronym or something, I would make flashcards for myself and study them every morning before
It's a good
work.
strategy.
There's so much jargon, and so like it feels a little bit like learning a whole new language at first. But then as I got to know a little more, I realized that I'm not the only one who's new. And I think they say at KubeCon, any given KubeCon, 50% of the people in attendance are new at cloud native computing. So when you feel like, oh, everyone around me is such an expert, that's actually not true. The experts might be the loudest because they're the most comfortable, but there are plenty of other people at your level. And if you I was able to learn out loud, and that helped me learn, but that also helped me lift other people who maybe are more shy than me. And so one of the first things I did was to make a show called Enlightening, where I'd invite an expert from a project on, and then I knew nothing about that project at all. And so the expert has to explain to me from scratch what their project is and what it does. And they need to give me all the context because I haven't been around very long. So that show is called Enlightening, and it ended up making for some really nice explainer videos because you'll find that experts sometimes are so much of an expert, they don't have a sense of what it feels like to not know everything. And they really needed to be guided through the process. And it made a really good comprehensive resource so that someone can come in from the outside and understand a project. So at that point, I felt like being new was a feature instead of a bug, that I get to have that perspective. But I'm actually really fascinated to hear what Victor's early days in tech were like.
Oh, my early days in tech were like 40 years ago.
40 years ago.
Yeah.
Wait, you were 10?
I think that when I wrote my first application, I was something, maybe, no, 12. So that would be 39 years ago. Okay, thank you for correcting me. Okay, it's not 40, it's 39. There we go.
I wasn't trying to correct you. I was just like, wow, you were 10 years old. Yeah.
12, something in that direction, yes. So my experience is different, right? Because I probably spent like maybe 5, 6, 7 years before I'm meeting another human that is doing that. I was just sitting in my room and writing code. So I don't know. I honestly don't know.
So then what does it feel like when there are new people like me buzzing around you and explaining all the things that you
specifically
kind of
annoying, but let's expand it to other people, yes.
When you see new people like asking questions that maybe feel remedial to you because you're so familiar, like how does that feel to have beginners around as someone who is an expert?
I feel it's important for that beginner to guide me as well, right? Because I don't know what you don't know, right? And I might start explaining you on a level that you don't understand, and then you need to put me down in a bit. Kind of, okay, but what is a server, right? From your previous example. And kind of, as long as you put me on a right level, then it's fine. And I love speaking with people no matter the level, right? I'm not the person who will come and join you and say, hey, would you like to know this, right? But if you come to me, so I'm like a prima donna. I don't know.
I think that's a really great point, though. As a beginner, it's important if people are talking over your head, or if they do say an acronym that you don't know or jargon you don't understand, don't be afraid to jump in and be like, "Hey, will you level set here? Will you bring this conversation up?"
And one thing people usually don't know is that you can collaborate even in non-tech stuff. Like you can organize an event, for example. You can collaborate in documentation, as you mentioned. and in that way you can learn as well. So we have plenty of examples of people that has been collaborating with us that doesn't even know anything about cloud native, and they get involved, and maybe they met some friends and they start learning, and then they get a job and things like that. So there's a lot of success cases we can have on cloud native without just coding or being like this tech expert, right?
Yeah, one strategy. Sorry, one strategy that regularly I don't know. What do you think? Is when I need to learn something, I write something, a blog post, or trying to explain it, because it is a strategy that I use. Like, I don't know, obligate to me to learn because I need to present something. I think so. It's a good strategy for me. Works, but I don't know what strategy do you use. For example, when you are learning and you think, okay, I need to explain this in the company. Why not? Or why not? Pitch, you need to sell something, you need to have the skills to learn and how to create a good proposal.
I feel that writing blog posts or creating videos or doing podcasts, any form of creating material is absolutely amazing and crucial, because it forces you in a way to conceptualize in your head what you already learned, right? So it is almost like a good practice to really figure it out, right? Not only learn it, but really conceptualize it and understand and so on and so forth, right?
Or when people ask my advice about like, how do I speak at conferences, or like, I want to submit to this conference, but I'm not an expert. I don't know about something. And it's just like, I never write an abstract for something I already know. I write an abstract for something I'm willing to learn, should my abstract get accepted. So you write your abstract for something you're curious about. And if you're curious about how does this work, then chances are other people are curious about the same thing too.
Yeah, it's interesting because regularly the people say or see, for example, you or me or whoever explaining and think he is expert, she is expert. But regularly, probably you are not expert. No. You are trying to explain something that you learn. And I think so it is the mindset that the people have. I need to be expert in order to explain, and it's not true.
Yeah.
And everybody is expert in something.
Exactly.
And everybody is not expert or newbie in something else.
Exactly.
So
thank you.
Every single person has some experience in something, whatever that something is. Everybody, there is no person who can, unless we're talking about babies, right? I know nothing. You know something. And there is a need for every level, right? So there are people who want to hear deep down dives into something. There are people who want to hear your experiences. So that's all good. People should never think in terms of, hey, I need first to become an expert, 10 years of experience, or I'm interesting. No.
Exactly.
Whatever you have, just put it out there.
One important thing is that I feel that when you're like a beginner or you're starting with something, and even if you're an expert and you're learning something new, the cold imposter syndrome comes, and you feel that if you're presenting to someone, everybody gonna do like pretty hard questions, or you're afraid of not knowing what to answer. But usually when you don't know, it's fine. Like you could say, well, I don't know that part, sorry. And that's fine. And people don't judge.
Yeah.
Actually, you're brave enough to put in front of you into an audience. And if you don't know, you're the brave one, not the one said,
Counterintuitive, but when you say, I don't know, you actually earn trust.
Yeah.
Because if you try to pretend or like talk around something and never say, I don't know, people see that. And people are like, oh, I don't know. I don't trust that person. But when you say, I don't know, and better yet, I don't know, but like if you ping me later, I'll look it up, or I don't know, but I know who you should talk to. So I'll connect you with that person after the
makes
talk
sense.
or whatever.
Totally.
It's interesting because the people, like Whitney said, the people understand if you are lying or not. Because, for example, if you are arrogant, you say, no, I will invent something. Probably the people go to the home, research. Gerardo told me that, for example, Cilium is, I don't know, it is for storage. A stupid thing, for example. Because I prefer to lie and don't say the truth. So the people return to the house and see, okay, Gerardo say that Cilium is for storage, and go to internet and see Cilium is a network interface. So, okay, Gerardo is a liar.
Or you could have an expert in the audience, and he can, or it can correct you. And that could be worse because you're being embarrassed in front of everybody. So it's better to be honest. And it's fine. It's fine to not know. It's part of the process.
Totally. It's not possible with the amount of complexity that there is in cloud native computing. It literally, one human can't possibly know everything. So you know what you know, and
exactly,
and embrace that.
Mm-hmm.
One thing you talked about earlier that I liked is talking about volunteering as a way to break into the cloud native community. I wanted to bring that up again because one blocker for me when I was first getting started, when you say like go into a Slack channel and just say, hello, I'm here to help. Like I'm in there with so many strangers and I don't quite understand the social context or like what the vibe is in there. And I don't want to just like announce myself. I'm too shy for that. But when you volunteer, whether it's online or in virtual or virtually, then you start to get to know the people behind the scenes. And then you're like, oh, okay, I'm not afraid to post in this channel because I know Gerardo's in there and I know that like he's nice and these people are nice because I know them firsthand, as opposed to just jumping in somewhere where everyone is scary.
Of course, sounds good.
Yeah.
So I remember when I started in cloud and DevOps, I started like Java programmer. Developer,
but you're still okay, guy.
Yeah. Sorry,
still okay.
But my life was so hard, but right now I am seeing the light. And so I remember that I love it to learn about continuous integration, continuous deployment, Docker, Kubernetes. My first step was to learn Docker. I remember my experience, and after Docker, moved to Kubernetes. I am asking in my last job, I want to learn more about DevOps, but the answer was not because you are a Java developer. So I moved to the community, and my strategy was I want to learn Kubernetes. So I received one advice from a senior people: Gerardo, create content and go to the communities. It was my first step. Create content, zero experience, but I was explaining the thing that I was understanding. Okay, Kubernetes is for this. Go to the community, speech, talk. And so this effort, moving to talking, meet people, get community, like NCF, talk in different conference. And the reason was give the first step, create content. For me, it's the good strategy. Probably, I don't know, guys, if you are watching this, probably you can think, I don't like read, I don't like write, but probably you can help in other way, organizing, videos, something like that. Or why not go to conference and speak something? Because again, you don't need to be an expert. You can explain, okay, how I pass the Java programmer, I am good. How, but for example, DevOps, the people like it. Okay, I am in the same context. How Gerardo, how Whitney, how whoever did it. So I think so. The idea is motivate to the people, give the first step, but you need to be the guy that give the first step. Because if you want to learn something, you need to, first of all, make the decision and do it. Because sometimes the people told me, Gerardo, in my company, don't use Kubernetes. Don't use cloud native. So it is the reason that I don't learn. I think so. You don't need that in current job, use technologies. You can learn in the communities and so on, right?
I think that's a mistake that many people make, that they somehow think that everything they will learn will be within a company.
Yeah.
And that's very often not the case. And it's very often the opposite, because in company, you have a specific task, you need to do this, right? Company very often does not have room to say, okay, now how about you do nothing for a month and
go pass your
figure
CKAD
out.
exam.
Exactly. So I think that it's in people's interest, selfish interest, right? To say, okay, this is my job. And then outside my job, I will expand my knowledge or experience and so on and so forth. And that's what communities are for. That's what conferences are for. That's what people are for, right? So just whenever I hear that somebody says, oh, I don't know this because in my company, that's not a good excuse good enough.
Yeah.
You need to go beyond that.
And that applies to students as well, because
everybody
usually, well, at least here at Costa Rica, the strongest part is not cloud computing or whatever, it's programming, learn to do programs, computer architecture, etc. It's like a lot of theory, and that's fine. But if you want to go beyond that and you want to find a good job, maybe you need some extra because the market is pretty competitive. So participate in communities, you can work in documentation, you can, I don't know, if you want to contribute to the open source as well. As a student, it should be fine. If you make a mistake, your pull request is not accepted, it's fine as well. You're learning, you're gonna get feedback or whatever. So those kind of things applies as well.
Find, if you hear about a person that you like or think that they're, just ping that person. Literally on Twitter, on LinkedIn, whatever. Hey, I have this question. I would like to, can you help me out? I would like to discuss this, whatever. Just ping the person. I bet in 80% of the cases, that person will say, cool, kind of like, hey, let's have a chat, right? Let's do a Zoom meeting or something.
And there's also Linux Foundation has a mentorship program that's really good. And there's also Google Summer of Code.
Yeah.
So 2 internship opportunities to get more involved in the cloud native community.
Nice. Sounds good. It's a good strategy. Because regularly, for example, let me explain a little bit what is our context in Costa Rica and the university. Like Vlad mentioned it. Here in the university, the people of the university teach programming, the basic, okay? Database, microservices. Wow, this teacher is amazing because explaining microservices, for example. But regularly, cloud is not covered a lot because regularly the teachers or the university has other strategies, or regularly their curricula is a little, how you can say, Vlad, help me in order to not sound rude. It's a little old or little not updated, I think so.
Like, depending on the university, for example, if it's a public university here, there's like a whole process you need to follow to change the curriculum. So it could take you years. And when you get there,
with the speed of innovation.
when you get there, it's out to date.
Not years, but year in singular is already a huge
it's a huge
gap. Whatever was happening this time last year is already half of those things.
Exactly. So it's kind of hard, and part of the efforts we're trying to do as cloud native communities to try to teach something to students in college. And what we said usually is like, maybe you don't understand what we're telling us. Maybe we are trying to explain a little bit of Kubernetes in half an hour, which is impossible to understand. But if you remember that word Kubernetes, if you remember that word containers, if you remember that word microservices or whatever, that's enough to get you curious and to start investigating,
That's very interesting because that's very similar the way I think when I'm explaining something. My job as explaining something is not for me to teach you something. It's just for you to have, let's say, half an hour talk or discussion or something, and after that to be able to say, okay, this is something I should dive into, or this is not for me, right? To me, those teachings are more for you to understand whether you should invest your time in it, right? Because realistically, you cannot be taught in an hour or half an hour or something like that, but you can make a decision whether this is something interesting, right?
Because continue, for example, with the students, regularly they think, okay, it is the thing that I am learning is enough in order to get my job. And regularly the people or the student that only receive the things that the university thought, for example, when they go out, the first interview, for example, one senior depends on the interviewer. If a good guy, but it's a guy that, oh no, I have a bad day, I will sacrifice this junior. Probably will receive feedback or questions about containerization, cloud, and the student can think, oh, 4 years a student wasn't enough to get an interview, to get a job. So I think so for the students, the community is important because in the community you still can learn and make connections. For me, it's the key, make connection, because you can learn, for example, oh, Vladimir has experience, Whitney, Viktor, how do you did? Or what strategy do you recommend to study? But depends on me. Sometimes the people pretend that the opportunities go to there or come to there. You need to go to there. And the strategy is involving with the people that has experience, right? What do you think?
The harder you work, the luckier you get.
There's a funny story. Actually, Gerardo interviewed me at my first job.
Thank you for saying that I am an old guy too.
You're not that old. Very older than me, but not that old. And part of the stuff that we were talking was about cloud. And thankfully, I had the chance to have a teacher that did talk to us a little bit of that, but that wasn't enough. we need to go beyond that. And part of the things you can do as a student, maybe you can find stuff in your college that you can do extra, like participating in an office, like an IT office, and you can start there on learning some part of the cloud. For example, when I was studying, there was a teacher that was implementing an internal cloud for the university. So we were building with BZL, which is an Apache open source software, like virtual machines on demand, like some sort of EC2, but in-house, And it was pretty interesting because that helped me learn understanding how cloud computing worked, and it made me easier to understand like interview questions and those kind of things. So you can get involved as well in real life job inside your own college, and maybe find ways to innovate inside there, because you can get any opportunities in the future, and that can help you on understanding more.
Yeah, and what advice that regularly I say to the students is, depends, not always, in my case, when I interview something or someone, the first thing that I saw is how the motivation, because I understand that a new guy don't have experience, but if you see that it is, I don't know the thing, but give me 1 month and I can learn, this value for me is important, because you can see I can see, okay, this has responsible, has the approach, is proactive. So I think so. It's good. The community.
They're telling the truth also when they say I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And for example, I can think this guy or this girl always give me the truth or say the truth, because can say I don't know, but give me time and I achieve the thing, or I solve the problem. So I think so. The community can give you the experience to learn other strategies, right?
I have a story from my past. I was interviewing 5 or 6 people for a very junior job, and I gave each of them a laptop, so they had to work on the laptop I gave them, right? And that laptop had Visual Studio Code to do the task that I told them, and it had a browser, but with the Visual Studio Code in front. I actually hired the only guy that dared to open the browser and Google for the solution. Really, because I know that none of you knows the stuff, right?
Exactly.
I'm just looking for the person who is going to find the solution, even if you don't know it, right? Google it, go Stack Overflow, figure it out. You can do it. Everybody else kind of just probably they were afraid or something. Kind of they were focused on Visual Studio Code. They were trying to write it and so on and so forth. The one that cheated in a way got the job.
I have follow-up questions.
Nice.
Did that person end up being a good employee?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, and another follow-up question. When Gerardo interviewed you, did you get the job?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, everything
Nice. Probably the people is waiting for that.
Yeah. Actually, it was fun because it was like a Java interview, but I ended as a DevOps engineer. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, that's double nice.
Yeah.
You could have ended up in Java developer.
I know. I had to maintain some
kidding,
Java
I'm
apps,
kidding,
but it was pretty cool. I
Java
learned a
was
lot.
my first love. I always love you, Java.
And I,
Pura vida. No.
Pura vida, Java.
Yeah.
No, what's the other one?
20s.
Pura vida.
Pura vida.
You can say
Yeah,
20s.
exactly.
20s as well.
20s as well. 20s is como chill, right?
Yeah.
20s is another word. Yeah, it's good because, for example, when I met Vladimir, I saw this. This guy is serious, responsible. Why not give opportunity? And right now, I think so. It's good. Right now, works leading people. He's young guy, and he's leading people. He's involved into the community. It's important right now. It is other part of this interview, guys, of this podcast is, okay, it's important to receive things. Because sometimes open source, the people think open source, free, I need to receive this. But what's the other approach? How I can give it or how I can contribute? Because it's important, not only receive. The community needs money, need effort, and sometimes the people think open source, free, give me. But how contribute?
It's okay early on, I feel, to receive only. But I think that you need to be proactive in order to receive, right? If you go to a conference, right? I'm not going to speak in Whitney's name, but I'm not going to go to each people and ask, can I help you something, right? But if you come kind of...
yeah, exactly.
Right, so you need to be proactive. Just kind of reach out to people, reach out to projects, kind of figure it out.
Yep. And you don't need to think about like pretty complex stuff. For example, at my first job, I work with another practice lead in creating like an AWS basics workshop. And part of the stuff I talked was about subnetting, like how to create subnets inside a VPC and stuff. And I was a junior at that moment, and for me that was easy because it was something like I saw like a year ago in college. And people say, "Oh man, thank you so much for that," because we didn't remember. So it's as easy as that. You don't need to give like pretty complex stuff. Maybe you're good at microservices and basics. You can explain a little bit of that to even senior DevOps engineers that maybe they forget the architecture, like code base, and they will be pretty grateful. So you don't need to be like this super guru or things like that to teach or to give or even to receive,
Sounds good. And what about the inclusivity? It's an important topic to mention. Regularly, the people, I don't know, can feel that this sector is only for one gender, for example, and how we can be more inclusive in our communities. I don't know, for example, in Costa Rica, I think so. We are giving a no bad effort, I think so.
We try.
We tried.
We try.
But I don't know, guys, in your case that you have traveling in different countries, in different conferences, how do you see this, the inclusivity? What advice or pieces of advice you can give to the communities, how the people can feel I am being respected in this community? Because sometimes maybe the people can think, being honest, here in Costa, I heard, I don't know, system engineer is for men, is for man, for example. It's a mindset, I don't know why, for example, in our country, I don't know, in the world, and how we can destroy this. I don't know, because the idea is be more inclusive. What do you think? I don't know.
There's a lot of ways, I suppose.
Yeah, I cannot answer this one because I'm middle-aged white man. You cannot be more privileged than I am.
Victor and I make a lot of content together. And over the years, he would talk about an SRE or sysadmin, and he would assume male pronouns and say he back when you and I met. And then after some years together of streaming, I'll say or she every time you say he. And eventually, no, you do it on your own. So, and you never push back when I just like gave you that gentle nudge that, hey, or she, you're like, of course, or she. It's just I'm learning too. Yeah.
I mean, there are two different things there, I feel. One is how can people stop doing things that they shouldn't be doing, right? Or reacting that they shouldn't be reacting. The other thing is how do you break the habits that are still with best intentions, right? Yes. Whenever I say he, I never meant to really say.
Of course.
I mean,
not.
I'm using that as example, but kind of that takes a lot of time, but it's probably easier problem to solve, right? Than the other one, the real one.
So for more seasoned people, if they see something where underprivileged people maybe aren't being fully represented, I think it's a good idea, like a gentle nudge without accusing and just assuming everyone does have good intentions, which actually absolutely is my experience. Like nobody is trying to not be inclusive. And then as someone who's underrepresented, you have to kind of change your mindset. Like I am going to take up space. I'm going to do it. Like you have to have maybe some determination. You don't have to, but it certainly helps. And don't expect someone to like exactly pave the way for you. And there are some nice points of entry. Like there's a CNCF women's group, or I work at Datadog, and I had someone else in the community ask me to refer her to a position. And then she's like, oh, well, maybe I can't do this position because I don't have an American accent. And I was just like, oh, no, I hope you don't think that about anything, you know? Like most people don't in the cloud native community, in my experience. Like, don't let your accent, like your fear that your accent means. I literally didn't even notice she had an accent because I'm so used to just
you
talking
also
to
don't
people.
have the proper English British accent either. If you want proper Lord's accent, you're not there right.
Sipping some tea with my pinky up.
Water, no water.
The water.
Water, no water. Water.
So there probably are groups you can get involved with that help you have a experience. If you do feel like the CNCF has a really robust code of conduct, and if you do feel like you're experiencing any kind of discrimination of any kind, no matter how subtle, you can bring it up there or with me or any pillars in the community. I've just implied that I'm a pillar of the community. That was gross.
So
But anyone else, like, I think there are a lot of people who are very... I'm never going to live that down. I'm never going to hear the end of
he's
that.
going to follow you now for months to come. I'm going to introduce you every single time. Keynote tomorrow is going to be with a pillar of the community. Okay.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Let me write
What
that
have
out.
I done? But if you do feel like you're not being represented or that you're not being heard or that you are making a big effort in something, there is a blocker, please speak up about it so we can remove that blocker, because as a community, we feel committed and passionate about this.
Nice. Right now we are coming to the finish of the first episode, but I have, or maybe I want to ask you something. Other question is about what advice can you give to these new students that probably is thinking, what is my career, or how I can prepare me in order to get my dream job or something like that in system engineer? What technologies, or what do you think, what is the current topics that people can invest the time in order to say, okay, I am updated and I can learn a job, for example?
I don't think that people should be thinking in terms of current topics and things like that. I think it's important to understand the breadth of what is offered. Try things out and just see what you're interested with. Like, kind of, there is nothing wrong with being Java developer. There is nothing wrong being into Kubernetes, right? There are opportunities for every area you can imagine. So just picking something, trying different things and seeing what sticks. What do you like? That's all there is to it, right? I don't think that people should be going for what is the latest possible so that I can focus on that. Especially that by the time you finish with it, it will not be latest anyways. So kind of like just whatever feels good.
Nice.
Follow your passion.
Yeah.
I'd say.
And then talk to pillars of the community that can help you out if you're in doubt.
Follow your passion. I'd also say it's worthwhile to build something, to have something tangible. If your goal is a job, to like, I built this, or if you prefer to do it like I passed this test, like that's certainly a path too. But some tangible results once you do find whatever it is you're passionate about.
Yep. One thing that I get asked that question often privately by people, and very often people who are just starting, right? They're not experienced yet. Show me the curriculum of kind of, okay, so I did this and that, kind of like Docker, Kubernetes, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. I think that's wrong. It's good to experience it so that you have some idea, but it's much more valuable if actually you focus on one thing, right? Kind of like I want to Kubernetes, right? Java, whatever that something is. Focus on it, spend a couple of years with it, and then you move to the next thing, right? It's much more valuable, and I feel it opens more doors. It sounds counterintuitive, kind of like, oh, the bigger CV I have, the better. But then that person with the bigger CV comes to you and cannot answer a single question about any of those things, right? In an interview or something like that.
Yeah, makes sense. Vlad?
Well, I think that for new students, as Whitney mentioned, follow your passion and try to go beyond what you should follow. Like in the university, usually you think that it's enough what you have, but you should go beyond that. And that's something that you don't usually are taught when you're studying, or even if you're not a student and you're trying to follow something else, you just don't feel that you're like damned or you have a curse or something that you can't do stuff. So follow what you feel is right for you. And that's not just for technology, it's for life as well. But
Pura vida.
Pura vida. Follow the pura vida, yeah.
Yeah. So good. Thank you so much, guys, for this episode. Probably all of you that is watching, I don't know when, please follow your dreams, continue studying. Like this expert mentioned it, the most important is be focused on one technology, give your effort because the opportunities depends on you. So probably in the next episode, we can talk more about technical things because probably right now you are watching this and say, I have work, I have a current job, but what technologies I can learn? What kind of things I can constantly learning? So in the next episode, we can learn more about the most trending topics, and why not, you can learn what amazing things. See you there, and pura vida.
Pura vida.